Hey everybody, happy Monday. I wanted to jump in here and I kind of really already posted everything that I wanted to say and up above, but I wanted you to know that for those of you in here who are my personal challengers, I am including this as part of the contest that I said that I was going to run for all of you within our Tracker app groups, but also with this group. So we use our Tracker app specifically for tracking workouts in Shakeology. But this week, in this group in particular, I really want to add a third element to this living, this shift that we're all trying to make in our life, and living a fit life, living a life fit and balanced and whole, and really creating those changes that we set out to make happen for ourselves in order to make our life more fulfilling, in order to make it more productive and active. So, and to really make this a lifestyle thing, right? To where it's more on autopilot and less having to feel less of the feeling of like we're making ourselves do this, or that it's a struggle or forceful or whatever. And the best way to go about doing that, in doing it, it's, here's the deal. Many of us, for a long, long time, we have known what to eat and what not to eat. We have known that we should work out. We probably already knew that we should work out for a minimum of maybe 20 to 30 minutes a day and 3 to 5 days a week, right? But for the longest time, and I'm talking like years, we didn't do any of those things. Why not? And 9 times out of 10, it's because there is something. I'm wondering if I think that was a kid coming back. So, but 9 times out of 10, that is an indication. If you've been struggling to over and over and over again, you should do something, but you haven't done it. I have noticed in my life that is usually tied to some kind of fear, some kind of, something that has become a belief that I am now living by. There's something that is keeping me from making that shift, making that change happen in my life. And it's usually because at the end of the day, if I really think about it, if I dig deep, it's tied to a fear. It's tied to something that I'm afraid is or is not going to happen should I start to do those things that I know I should do. So, for example, either a fear of failure, like either, someone's going to see me fall flat on my face, or someone's going to see me or think less of me if I don't complete it. Or, feeding that record, it's going to be one more thing that I don't complete, that I've started and not finished, because I've been a perpetual starter in my life. I really have. And I remember at one point, my mom even telling me, Angel, you have a habit of starting stuff and not finishing it. And that was in my 20s. And it really irked me. So when I recognized that, I knew that I had to start going to work on it. And so, for instance, one of the things that I did, and I mentioned it in my comments above, was I picked up an Audible book that spoke specifically to that kind of problem of starting something and not finishing it, or failure to start something, period. And it was just something that I knew I needed to work on. So here's the deal. My challenge to you guys, just like in the text above, and you get credit for this and in participation for winning that contest prize that I was talking about if you're one of my personal challengers. Otherwise, you're just doing this because you want to grow you, okay? We're adding a third element. We're doing pretty good with getting our workouts in. We're doing really great with getting our shakes in. But now we need to start working on here and here. Remember when I talked about why a lot of times we don't see transformation or why things don't happen, it's because this and this hasn't changed yet. So this is a very straightforward, actionable, intentional way to start to change this and this. And that is picking up a book, listening to a video, listening to a podcast on a regular basis, subscribing to a certain YouTube channel, and it can be faith related, it can be not faith related, as long as it speaks to the area that you need to grow. So I made those 3 points above, and I'm touching on them already. But the first thing is, it needs to be on a daily basis. Okay? A lot of us have this pre-programming that this belief system that's been beaten down into us, or that has been reinforced because we've continued to make the same decisions over and over and over again, and continue to produce the same results over and over and over again. And we want to change those results. Well, in order to change the results, we have to change our actions. And in order to change the way that we make our decisions for what we're going to do, our actions, we have to start reprogramming how we think, so that we can, and reprogramming how we see life, our attitude about it, and what we believe is possible out of this situation. Because if I go into this challenge saying, I've never been good at being consistent, or I start working out pretty good, but I'm really bad at eating or whatever, and we just stay there, that's just going to continue to come true unless we go to work on that. So in order to do that, we have to daily, day in, day out, we need to reinforce and feed our brain, feed our mind, our heart, our spirit, something different than what we have been feeding it or allowing to live there. A lot of us have allowed the enemy to speak to us in areas that he has no right, no authority, he has no right to be there. But we have allowed him to tell us that we'll never accomplish it. We'll never do it. We'll never be strong enough. We'll never be smart enough. We'll never have a strong enough willpower. We'll always fail. We'll never finish. Whatever it is. He's continued to convince us that, you're not stronger than that cheesecake. You will always choose the cheesecake over the 15 pounds that you want to lose. You will always choose the pizza over the the desire for increased energy and metabolism, right? I mean, he's been talking to us these same lies over and over again, and we've continued to listen. Well, it's time to quiet him and shut him down. And the way that we do that is we feed something else contrary to our brains. We put it in our ears, we put it in our eyes, and then we speak it out of our mouth. We repeat it to ourselves. And I know it sounds silly, but, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because this is actually kind of part of next week's thing. But, eventually you start speaking it, living it out because you truly start to believe it. So you start with 10 minutes, you start with 20 minutes, whatever you have in the day. And I gave you some examples in there. For me, one of the first things that I started doing was listening to it in the car. As soon as I got all the kids out of the car, I was listening to it. And I would have a book on Audible or a podcast, and I still do this, that I could just, as soon as everyone's out of the car, I press play. Okay. Another thing I would do is while I was getting doing my makeup in the mirror, I would press play while I was doing that, because I can do makeup without having to really think about it, right? So I was able to listen and receive and allow it to sink and think about what I was hearing and reflect on it and think and identify areas that, in places and decisions and things that just places in my life that I could, recognize that it was a place of lacking for me. And then once here's the thing. So the first thing is making it daily. Okay. And as you continue to do it, like I said, every single day, you're going to not only be muffling and quieting, but you will completely convert this broken record that's been in your brain. You will start living by a new set of core beliefs that, instead of squashing you and keeping you stuck and holding you down, is going to start creating new things in your life. Okay? It's going to empower you. It's going to lift you up. It's going to make you think, yeah, yeah. One, I'm worth it. And two, yeah, I can do it. I know I can do this. Okay? And so the second thing was, after making it, first thing was making a daily thing. Second thing was make it an area that you need, not necessarily just an area that you want. And it sounds contradictory, but this is what I mean. Don't just do it. Don't just pick a book or a video or a podcast or whatever on a subject matter that is feel good. That is not the point. The point is not just to feel good after. So here's what I mean. If you suffer in the area of self-worth and value and knowing that, and actually loving yourself, then yeah, you need to listen to those things. You need to watch those things. You need to reinforce that new belief that you are worth it, and that and how to see yourself from God in God's eyes and love yourself. However, don't just listen to self-love stuff if that's not really your greatest need. If your greatest need is actually in consistency, like I gave the example of, I would actually say reach for a book or an audio or a YouTube channel or something on consistency, creating consistency in habits. If you have a habit of starting and not finishing, then go for that. So I gave the suggestion of Darren Hardy's, The Compound Effect. So that was a really eye-opening book for me. Another one that I loved was, I think it's called Punch Fear in the Face. If I remember it's by John Acuff. I think I'm saying the title right. That was another great one for me. But if you need help finding a book or an audio or a podcast that feeds the specific area of your life that you need to grow, because it's the one thing that in the one area of life you feel the most lacking, but that if you would just push in this one area and feed it and fuel it, like there would be a domino effect across all kinds of areas in your life, right? So if you identify that area and you just need help finding the resources to do that and develop that area and grow in that area, reach out to me, ask below in the comments. I guarantee you, between me and the other coaches in this room, we have a wealth of resources, authors, speakers, preachers, teachers that will speak to you, okay? Here's the other one. So the first one was make it daily. The second one was make sure you're feeding an area that you need growth in, not necessarily just what feels good to hear, right? The third one, though, is big. I mean, it's huge. You have to listen with the intent to act. I'll never forget a teaching that I received from a pastor friend, who talked about the difference between hearing and listening. That you can hear something, but without an intention to do anything with it. It's passive. But when you listen to something, and he was preaching and teaching, so he was talking about being, the will of God and, staying in the will of God and all that stuff. But it's powerful applying it to this too, because he said when you listen, it's really implying that you have the intent to obey. So when you are saying, God, talk to me, and I want to hear from God, well, are you listening with the intent to obey the actual instructions that he's going to give you? So I totally believe that every one of you is led here to this group at this time, at this space, and by God, in order to help fill this need in this area of your life. He did it for me. He led me to a group of coaches and fellow challengers and other people that impacted my life in an irreversible kind of way, that set me on this path and really helped me engage in it from the beginning, so that I wanted to see my fitness to completion. Not just physical, but I started to crave a level of fitness from the inside out. So I believe he's done the same thing for every single person in here. And I'm truly humbled that and grateful that all of us are here and able to cross paths and impact one another and support each other and be here for each other and experience all of these things together. And so here's the deal. Number 3 is huge, because if you don't actually listen daily in the area that you know you need to grow, but without the intention to act, it's not going to do you any good. You have to hear what they have to say, but you got to have it in the back of your mind like, okay, I recognize where I can put this to work, and then go to work. Okay? So otherwise, it's like that Bible that sits on the coffee table and collects dust, right? It's like the workout program that sits on the shelf and you never press play on. Okay? You have to have the intent to actually act on what it is you hear, so that you can, one, you're making that the soil. I'm going back to Mark 4. I love that scripture. But you're making the soil of your heart and mind ready for the receiving and the nurturing of the seed, of what you hear, so that it can produce something. It can actually grow and thrive and produce something in your life. So when you sit down, or as you drive and you plug it in and you put your earbuds in while you sip your coffee, whenever and for however long that you sit down and fill your mind, listen in that time, distraction free as much as possible, with the intent to act on it. Okay? And here's the part of the challenge, is to post in this group about it, so that, one, you benefit the rest of us. 2, you're reinforcing what you have heard by putting it out there. And you're like regurgitating it. Okay? Why do you think, God said to meditate on it day and night and to speak it, okay? Speak what you believe. It's because something happens when you take it and form words with it with your mouth, or retype it out, or rewrite it out. There is a reinforcing when you regurgitate the information that you've received. And so post it, but then also just so I can see that you are taking this seriously, this time to shift seriously in your life. And you're not just here to just that you have the heart and the intention to make this work, to do this, to really do this for yourself, to make that shift. So I love you, and I can't wait to see all of what you have to share from and we call it your personal development time. Okay? And so I'm going to share with you mine throughout the week. And I can't wait to see yours. I'll talk to you later. Bye.